got into skating in a big way when I was about 11 years old. And the moment when I knew I wanted to skate and not do other sports was the first time I went to a skate park and saw people flying out of pools. All my life I was trying to find a buzz, and I didn't really get it from team sports. I was okay at baseball and basketball, but I wasn't improving at a rate I could see. And then when I went to the skate park for the first time, I literally saw these guys going into a pool and flying, and I was like, that's it.
Never before in history competition have we seen a 900. 900! Oh! You guys want to see the 900?
Tony was either gonna make it or kill himself trying it.
900 with him is 10 years deep.
Trying it so many times, I started to feel like this could be the ultimate disappointment, you know, if I just can't do it. So that's why I was willing to just stick it at any cost, you know, if it meant that I was going to get taken out and taken to the hospital. So be it, you know, it was worth the effort.
I think it was a conscious decision, like, okay, everybody stop skating, let Tony try and make this. We all just wanted to get behind him and see him do it.
Tony Hawk! Tony Hawk! Tony Hawk! 900! 900! Oh! No way!
The crowd wanting to see something spectacular, the whole other side of the skateboard community knowing that this is history, this is something very special. They all wanted to see him make it as much as he wanted to make it.
9. Are you kidding me? Yeah, look at this! Tony Hawk, everybody!
If it weren't for you people, I would have never made that. Thank you. Thank you. This is the best day of my life. I swear to God.
Hawk's popularity and fame as the most revered skateboarder in American history really took off after completing the 900, 2.5 complete circles at the first ever X Games in 1999.
It's been a blast to be part of the X Games for the last 20 years. I've seen all of our sports evolve through the process. I've seen the popularity soar. Really, the action has been front and center. The evolution of what we're doing has come so far, and largely because of the excitement of the X Games. How that has become the standard place to where you're going to show your newest thing. We've seen so many milestones take place, like during X Games through all those years. First backflip on a motorcycle, 900, 1080. The first double backflip. Now we got a triple backflip. I mean, all that stuff has progressed largely through the X Games venue.
The X Games, both summer and winter, may have not received the recognition that they do today if it wasn't for Tony Hawk and his invention of numerous tricks.
Tony Hawk changed the sport of skating with his invention of new tricks. He also changed skating outside of the skate park. The popularity of skating had declined rapidly over the years, but Hawk had faith that it would turn around and launched Birdhouse Project in 1992.
However, by 1991, the popularity of skateboarding dropped off significantly, and Hawk spent the next several years in financial turmoil. Despite the uncertainty of his sport's future, Hawk decided to launch his own skateboard company called Birdhouse Projects in 1992.
Birdhouse Projects was a huge success, but he wanted more outside of the skate park. Later in his career, he launched multiple other brands: Hawk Clothing, which is what he calls his children's line, the Boom Boom Huck Jam Tour, and the Tony Hawk Foundation, which helps to build skate parks in low-income areas in the United States.
Birdhouse succeeded as well, and these triumphs led the skater to start a children's skate clothing company called Hawk Clothing. In 2002, he started the Boom Boom Huck Jam Tour to showcase skateboarding, BMX riding, and freestyle motocross to the masses. Hawk has used his fame and wealth to help build a number of skate parks in low-income areas through the United States, through his Tony Hawk Foundation.
In his career, Tony Hawk sold his rights to his name to various different companies who would put his name on almost anything just to get it to sell. By the end of his career, he was so big that he could tell companies what they could and couldn't sell if it had his name on it.
I lived through the 80s, and I made all my biggest mistakes in the 80s, and I thank God there was no TMZ or YouTube or any of that stuff, because I signed my rights away to a few companies. You know, I didn't have control over my name or likeness, and they started blasting stuff out that was just garbage, junk, with my name on it, and I had no recourse. As a skater, as someone who lives in this world and knows the authenticity of it and the culture of it, and has respect for it and wants to keep its integrity, I told them, look, you can't put anything out there without my approval. Doesn't matter if it's even, you know, it's my whatever. If I'm attached to it, I have final say over it. And I had to fight for that. I had to fight for it a lot, you know. And eventually, as skating grew and as people started to respect it more, I didn't have to fight for it as much. And when I saw him as a youngster skating, I saw him always challenging himself. And that was something that I couldn't necessarily just teach. He had that in him, you know, the desire to keep pushing what he was able to do. It's not something that it's not something you can teach.
I feel like at first people thought it was kind of strange that I was kind of doing the skate thing too, but now it seems like people are stoked just to see, like, my dad skated and he raised me to skate too, and I feel like, I don't know, it seems like it just makes sense now rather than before. It was kind of weird because I was younger and people didn't really know, I guess, if like I was actually even good at skating or if I was just kind of doing whatever, but I feel like now it just makes sense and I'm stoked. I wouldn't have it any other way.
It was hard for him, you know, he had to separate from my shadow, so to speak, and he had to really make his own way and be recognized on his own skills. And that was, you know, that was a hard thing to push through, but he did it because he got his own set of sponsors. He got videos, he got awards, and it wasn't because of my name at all. I honestly didn't think Bradley would be in X Games.
I've always gone to the X Games since I was a little kid with my dad and stuff. With my ankle injury, it was just kind of a good goal to get my ankle better by and just say, like, I want to be able to skate this in this time, so like I'm gonna work my ankle till I can skate that, you know. And I don't know, it's in Austin. Austin's a cool place, so I was just like, yeah, you know what, let's do it.
I feel like this is the first time he's had a chance to, under the mainstream eye, to prove himself that it's not just about his name. You know, it's about his abilities. Like we did Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I signed a contract. I had no idea that that would be a big game or a game that would sell at all. I just wanted skaters to be proud of it. So I set out to, you know, make the tricks authentic, make the locations fun, make the challenges something that skaters would appreciate, and get a group of skaters that are well respected and make it very diverse. And so what I set out to do was say the first video game was something that I thought would inspire skaters to buy a PlayStation. That was all I had in my head. Was like, skaters gonna dig this so much that they're gonna play.
Okay, quick history lesson. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater first burst onto the scene in 1999. There had been skateboarding games before, but none had captured the culture of skating anything like THPS. Also, the culture of skating had evolved. Popularized in the 60s and 70s, skateboarding had taken a nosedive in following in the late 80s, but had risen again by the mid-90s. The popularity of the sport has always had peaks and valleys. But the release of THPS coincided with a massive global expansion of skating. Kids in countries around the world were picking up decks, listening to punk music and buying baggier pants. All the while, the game series growing in popularity. THPS 2 is a sensation. 3, the 4th ever 10 out of 10 on GameSpot.com. And while the popularity of the series went through its own peaks and valleys, it's still one of the most beloved sports franchises in the history of video games. At E3 2015, Tony Hawk was on the press junket, publicising his upcoming Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. We talked to him about his latest game on the GameSpot E3 live stage, but hours earlier, before the show had opened, Tony was kind enough to sit down with me and shoot the breeze about the series.
I mean, above all else, I want to be remembered as an innovative skater. That's always been my drive, and still is to this day. I'm still trying to learn new stuff. I'm still trying to, make videos and be contemporary. I would like to think that I helped to raise awareness for skating and to possibly make it more legitimate in the eyes of the uninitiated. Because skating had a bad rap for a long time, and now it's something that parents are encouraging their kids to do. And if I had some part of that, I'm proud of it.
Perhaps Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 will have the widespread appeal of the early Hawk games. Perhaps it won't, but you can be sure of one thing. Every day, people around the world are experiencing new and interesting forms of art, media and culture via the unique power of video games. And some kids somewhere in the world, in America or Brazil or Ireland, will play this game and be inspired to pick up a deck.
We think Spencer was there on my first one. He was on my last. Bye.